Hey guys, London System is a great and strong opening. However, many London System players struggle against King's Indian defense. They say it doesn't have the same effectiveness against this line. And in some way this is true, and there might be some reasons for this. For example, we can talk about the minor pieces and we can see that the bishop on this 3 that usually is a really powerful weapon in these positions. For example, when black plays Queen's Gambit declined, this bishop is going to be great here targeting h7. That is not going to happen in King's Indian. The bishop is just hitting g6, very well protected, not creating any real problem. The other bishop on f4 is going to be the same thing. In other positions it's really good in this diagonal. This time it's just hitting d6, not creating any problem. Actually it's exposed because very often black is playing e5 and also sometimes e4. So the bishop is not doing too much, and the same thing for the knight. This knight very often goes to e5 where it's doing a great job. For example, it clears f3 for the other knight, so the two knights connect very well very often in these positions. Also when the knight moves to e5, the queen is a little better and we are clearing the line for the queen, and those things are not going to happen when black plays King's Indian defense. So in this video I'm going to show you 3 ideas and opening traps to crush King's Indian defense when you play London System. So let's assume a regular development where we could be playing knight f3, black can castle. Here we develop the bishop, and I'm going to suggest the development over e2. As we were saying at the beginning of the video, this bishop is not doing that much, it's just attacking a pawn very well protected by our 2 pawns. And also the bishop is going to be very exposed here. Sometimes black is playing e5 when they prepare it, and they will be attacking one bishop and also forking the 2 pieces over there. So I prefer the bishop over e2 in these positions. And black can play d6, we can castle. And in this position, black has 2 main ideas in King's Indian. They can try to prepare a break over here, or prepare a break over c5. Those are like the 2 main and most popular plans for black. So let's analyze c5 first. And here, well, of course we don't want to open the great diagonal because the bishop is going to be very good. So we're going to play here c3, reinforcing our central pawn. And very often black will try to take advantage of the unprotection of this point here, as the bishop has been developed already. So they can try queen b6. That's a typical move. And the trick here is that we are not going to defend the pawn. We are just going to play here knight bd2. We are going to ignore that threat and we will continue our development. A good way to continue as black here is this move bishop e6, just developing, and here we can try knight e5, trying to get the bishop. The bishop can just go back to d7, but now we can get c4 with the knight, so we can play knight c4, and well, the game can continue then. It's a position very interesting. Probably white is slightly better here, so it's very playable. But what we really want to see is what happens if black takes the pawn on b2. And here we are going to get some advantage in all the lines. So we are going to play here knight c4, and black has 2 main options, or 2 options. They can play here queen takes c3 or queen b5. In both cases we get the advantage. Probably the best is going to be queen b5, but here we have the queen on the same line as the bishop, so we can discover over d6. And once the queen moves, for example to a5, we can get that bishop. So now we have the 2 bishops on the board, and well, this position is going to be very comfortable. After rook takes c8, there is this move queen b3, protecting, attacking, activating, also connecting our rooks. So this position is very well for white. We have a clearly better position here, but maybe you're wondering, okay, I know they cannot play queen b5 because of that, but what happens after queen takes c3? Well, after queen c3 this is even worse for black. Here we're going to be able to capture black queen because we can play the move rook c1 here, and the only move for black is going to be queen b4, and we will play rook b1. One more time, only move is queen c3, and rook b3, the queen does not have a square to escape, so we're going to get a very big material advantage in this position. The other plan is when black tries to break over e5. Of course we have like a lot of control over there, but they can bring the knight and they can bring the rook. So let's say black is playing here knight bd7. We're going to play a3. That's a typical move in these positions because we don't want to allow the trade of this knight for our bishop. And black can trade rook e8, And in this position is when we can play for the trick. Here we are going to ignore this threat because it's not really a threat. We can play something just improving our position like knight c3. And if they play e5, which they don't have to, but if they play this, then we're going to capture one pawn for free here. We take and we take. The problem is that when black takes the knight, the rook is overloaded, guarding both knight and queen. So we can deflect and we can capture. This position is a little better for white. We have the advantage, but probably you're wondering, okay, that line is very well, but what happens if black sees this trick and they don't play e5? Well, in these positions in general we are going to be playing bishop h2 at some point. We can expand a little on the queen side and it's going to be pretty playable, around equal or slightly better for white middle game. Finally, I want to show you another idea against King's Indian defense when we play London system, and it is in this position, move number 3, when we see our opponent is already going to play King's Indian, or maybe a Grunfeld if the pawn goes to d5. Here we can try the move knight c3, and this is going to be very interesting. The idea is that we want to play e4, we want to play queen d2, and we want to attack on the king side and play bishop a6 and probably castle queen side. This pawn will go very often to f3 to control the center, but also to help in the expansion on the king side. So for example, bishop g7, we can play e4, black can play d6, we can play queen d2. The plan in these positions is very clear. We are going to castle queen side and attack on the king side. Something interesting is that this position actually belongs to the theory of Pirc defense. If black plays here d5, trying to stop our advance in the center, we can play similar ideas like queen d2, bishop g7, we castle queen side, and when they castle, then we are playing, for example, this move f3, very interesting, because we are controlling e4 very well, so then I cannot go, but also we could be advancing later, but also we are controlling g4, so we can expand on the king side, so we have a very interesting and dynamic middle game. If you guys have any question, let me know in the comments. If you want to see the 5 best opening traps to crush Sicilian defense, check out this video over here. I'm sure you will enjoy it. Thank you guys, like, subscribe, see you on the next.